Chapter 4, Part 2. Kat pushed me aside. "Hey, Salim," she said, holding out her hand. "That's some accent you have. Is that how your folks talk up north?" "Hey, Kat," said Salim, shaking her hand. "Is that how y'all lot talk down south?" Everyone laughed their heads off, which is not literally what happened, but I like the idea of laughing heads becoming detached from bodies through extreme hilarity, so it's a good way to describe things. I didn't know I was funny, but I laughed too. Mr. Shepherd says it's a good idea to laugh when others do, as it means you can fit in and become friends. "How come you talk all South Londony?" Salim continued, "and Ted sounds like the BBC." "That's a very good question, Salim," Mum said. "Not even Ted's neurologist can explain it. But come through to the kitchen, everyone. Dinner's ready." In the kitchen, Mum had extended the table to its full length of nearly 2 metres, so that 6 could fit around it, but as the skinniest person, I had to squeeze in at the far end with my back to the patio door. Mum had covered the surface with a white tablecloth and had made me lay it because that was my job. Then Kat went round checking I'd put everything the right way round. This was unnecessary, as I'm very good at laying tables. I think of the knife, spoon and fork as an electric current. The knife feeds the end of the spoon and the front of the spoon feeds the prongs of the fork, and on the table edge is the last part. And between each object is a 90-degree angle, so the circuit becomes perfectly square. And if you do it that way, nothing ever goes wrong. Kat had put flowers from the garden in a vase in the middle of a wooden board and stacks of bread. She'd put out our best tumblers for drinks and folded up paper serviettes into them so that each one stood over the glass rim like a mitre, our school emblem. She added wine glasses for Dad, Mum and Aunt Gloria. She'd tried putting one at her own place, but Mum whisked it away and called Kat Madam Minx, which is what she calls Kat when she's annoyed with her, but only moderately. We all sat down. Mum served out chicken casserole, one of my favourite things to eat, from a big orange pot. Aunt Gloria talked a lot. She said she and Salim were dead excited to be leaving Manchester, as they'd had enough of the rain. I tried to point out that the number of wet hours in the north was far less than people realised, but she'd already moved on to what a dead fast city New York was. I knew then how people often say dead when they mean very, so I didn't need to ask about that. But I did ask her how a city could be fast. "Well, Ted," she said, "everything in New York moves in quick motion, like a film speeded up. People, cars, even underground trains. They have the express trains that flash past the boring stops when you're there. If you feel as if time is rushing by at twice the normal rate. Which means, Mum," Salim said, "you'll grow old twice as fast in Manhattan." Aunt Gloria laughed. She put an arm out and touched Salim's shoulder. "He's such a joker, my boy." Salim's eyes stared at the tablecloth and I saw his lips move, but no sound came out. Then he saw me looking at him and his eyes went up to the ceiling. And he tapped his temple and pointed at Aunt Gloria, grinning. Kat said later this was body language for how Salim thought his mother was crazy. Next, he took a mobile phone out of his pocket and put it next to his plate and looked at it very seriously. Mum passed Aunt Gloria the bread. Aunt Gloria said she was off wheat of all kinds because of being on a gluten-free diet. "My nutritionist swears by it," she said. "Aunt Gloria," I said, as I took a slice for myself, "wouldn't it be better for your health to give up cigarettes?" Dad coughed as if something had gone down the wrong way. "I read some interesting figures yesterday. If everyone in Britain gave up smoking, the National Health Service would save—" "Ted!" Mum said. Aunt Gloria chuckled. "No, Faye, Ted's right to ask. Trouble is, Ted, I'm totally hooked on nicotine and can take or leave bread." She looked over to Kat. "You don't smoke, do you, Kat?" Kat twisted her serviette around itself. "Course not." I frowned because I'd seen Kat with a cigarette in her mouth with her school friends only the week before. "But Kat, that's—" "What do you think about going to New York, Salim?" Kat interrupted. Okay, so again, a little bit of prediction now. What do you think Salim is going to think about going to New York?